Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. Good to have you in on a Friday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. How you doing today on this Friday?
I'm very happy. This is your birthday weekend, so it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, no, it should
Family
be good.
is here. We're going to have a good time.
Too bad Patriots play the Bills on Sunday.
Yeah, we'll see.
It is going to be a good football week, though. I feel really confident about my picks this week. Did not have a good week 6. I went 1-4 on my Harvey hot hand, but I really, really like my picks for this week. A lot of really, really good games this week. We'll talk about that later on in the show, but I want to talk about last night's game, and I want to focus on both teams individually. So I want to talk first about the Saints with Derek Carr. So Derek Carr was actually shown yelling at teammates and coaches, particularly late in the fourth quarter. There was a weird miscommunication between him and Chris Olave, wide receiver for the New Orleans Saints, but this was happening throughout the entire game. Miscommunications, bad plays, points left on the board for the New Orleans Saints, and Derek Carr, a guy who's sort of been a very team-oriented player, is starting to lash out at a few teammates. He even said that he needs to chill out when it comes to these outbursts, and he actually said, talking in regards to that Chris Olave thing, he said, I wasn't talking to Chris. Like the past 2 weeks, I was just talking in general. There were some things that happened today that led to some pretty big negative plays that should never have happened, and I think that's where my frustration comes from. We both thought that the Saints would go far in the playoffs, potentially have a long playoff run with Derek Carr, an upgrade over Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston. And right now, it's not looking too good. One of the lowest scoring teams in the NFL. Not looking too good. Dennis Allen, the head coach. Defense, actually, surprisingly, it's been pretty good this year. It's fallen apart, at least in this game, against Trevor Lawrence. Do you think the Saints are in danger of potentially missing the playoffs, especially with the Buccaneers leading the division and the Falcons really just right there?
Well, yeah, I guess so. They're 3-4 now, right?
Yes.
And their division's much tougher than we thought it was going to be. I mean, the reason I picked them to make the playoffs is because I thought the division would stink. I thought that Tampa Bay would be horrible. I thought the Falcons would be horrible. And I figured the Saints, they had a good defense last year. They were really, the quarterback position was where they were weak last year. And with Derek Carr in there, I thought, yeah, they'll win the division. But now, we were sort of wrong about Tampa Bay. They're much better than we thought. Their defense is really good, and Baker Mayfield has found new life because he's throwing to really good receivers. So I think that's helped him out a lot. They may even have a little bit of a running game there. So Carolina stinks, but they're going to be. They may not even win a game this year. But the Falcons are not bad, right? Although Ritter, I'm sorry. I watched him play on the game.
He's not the answer.
He's not the answer.
Yeah.
They need somebody else. They've got a good running game. They got a good offensive line. They got a decent defense, but they're weak at quarterback. So I don't think they'll make the playoffs. But Tampa Bay may be the one that wins the division there.
Right.
Maybe the Saints could sneak in a wild card. I don't know.
Potentially.
I don't think they're that bad a team. I mean, they wiped out the Patriots, right? We were at the game.
Yeah.
They looked like world beaters in that game. Since then, they've lost 2 in a row, right?
Yeah.
So I thought Derek Carr played well last night, right?
Ooh.
He had 300 yards passing, 33 of 55, a TD. He did have one interception, but that was kind of batted up into the air. He did kind of force it in there, though. He could have thrown to the safety valve, but he probably wouldn't have gotten the first down. So he was trying to get the first down. So I like his competitiveness. I think, a little yelling here and there, maybe not such a bad thing.
I'm going to disagree with you on that. When it comes to the way you've been playing, I understand if, for instance, if it's a Tom Brady or a Rodgers or anyone like that who has that, reputation of even in adversity, you somehow pull it out on the other side. Derek Carr doesn't really have that. Yes, I understand he has a lot of come from behind wins, but in this season, actually in last season as well, but particularly in this season, the Saints have failed to score more than 20 points in 5 of their 7 games. This offense is anemic. We thought Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston. First of all, you thought Jameis Winston should have played last season over Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
Dennis Allen didn't think so. Now you bring in Derek Carr, who we both agreed a complete upgrade over either one of those quarterbacks. They're actually worse. They're scoring less points. This offense looks bad. Not only that, think about it. They thought, the Saints did, that Derek Carr was their long-term solution. 4 years, up to $150 million contract. The guy's making like $33 million a year. He had turnover issues. The offense is terrible. Like it can't get going. Now, you talked about that Patriots blowout. Does that show how up and down the Saints could be, or how really bad the Patriots actually are?
Could be how bad the Patriots are.
I think
that's
that's
the
more
Saints
so
have lost to. Although the Jaguars are an up and coming team, they
could be.
They've been on a roll here. They're 5-2. They're playing much better every game, and I think that I saw that, and that's why I picked them. And I'm not surprised they won, but the game was tied late in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. And then Christian Kirk had that tremendous yard after the catch. I think it was a 44-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
It was incredible. And then when it mattered, just think about this, right? Foster Monroe, the tight end who dropped that beautiful wide open could have been touchdown, like the last play of the game for the Saints. Do you think that Derek Carr screaming and yelling throughout the game, it puts some nerves into you? It makes you think maybe twice about, your decision making. I think that could have been nerves from, Derek Carr pounding on everybody, especially top stars like Olave. I mean, you had guys like Michael Thomas. He had a tremendous touchdown. That's why I think tied the game. It was a beautiful sideline throw, and it was a beautiful catch. But then there's also some coaching issues, I think, for the Saints. Not going for it maybe when you should have in enemy territory, going kicking field goals on like a 4th and 3 where you could go for it, punting when you may need to go for it. Like there's coaching situations that Dennis Allen, he's being a very conservative coach, and I think that's what got Anthony Lynn fired. Being too aggressive may get Brandon Staley fired for the Chargers, but you need to have this blend of taking risks and then playing conservative. Dennis Allen seems to be never taking any risks. Does that mean he doesn't have any trust in his players? In Derek Carr, they spent 4 years, $150 million on for this guy? I mean, you could have had Andy Dalton or Jameis Winston starting for you. So I think it's a combination of coaching and playing.
Defense played okay, right?
The Saints had the better defense.
Yeah, I think that he trusts the defense, so that's why he's playing conservative. You think he's going to get the ball back a lot?
In this game, you got to read the writing on the wall here. Trevor Lawrence and this team was moving the ball. They were able to run the ball pretty effectively. Trevor Lawrence was their leading rusher in this game, and which is actually very, very surprising. He was dealing with the leg issue. I believe it was a knee issue. He comes into this game. He didn't practice all week. He was a game-time decision, and then he comes out, leads his team in rushing. 8 carries, 59 yards. He had a 26-yard run in there.
He had a good game.
He had a phenomenal game for the circumstances. Him not
20 of 29, 204 yards, a TD.
Yeah, no, and this is one of the top tier defenses in the league, especially in the NFC. In total ranking, they are the 6th best defense in the NFL. 6th in passing, 10th in rushing.
Kirk is having a good season.
Kirk? Oh, Christian Kirk, yeah. Which is surprising because people think they overpaid for him last season, but his production so far, maybe it's slightly overpaid, but his production is perfectly fine for the amount he's getting paid.
6 targets, 6 receptions, 90 yards, a TD.
Yeah, no,
that 44-yard play, he looked like he could have gotten tackled several times. He made it into the end zone.
Big time. So when we talk about the Saints team, I really think, based on just how the rest of the NFC is opening up right now, I mean, what did I say before I changed my mind, though? The Rams are still in it. Right now, they're a playoff team. Seattle, right now, a playoff team. And then the Cowboys fill in that last wild card spot. So right now, you have the 4 division winners in San Francisco, Tampa Bay, Detroit, and Philly. Then you got Dallas, who I don't think the Saints are going to pass. And then you have the Seahawks and the Rams. So right now, if the Rams lose, they're both 3 and 4. Then I think there's other aspects to it that get factored into whether or not you're a playoff team. Mm-hmm. But Seattle, they could lose a game and still be in it. And the Rams, I think they're up against the Steelers, who don't have an offense. So I think there's actually, we both thought earlier on in the year, based on their schedule, having it be the easiest schedule in the NFL, right behind or right ahead of the Falcons. I mean, this team does not look like what we expected it. People said in our comment section, 12-13 wins. This team, can it win 9? That's what I think. That's what we said.
What's Tampa Bay's record?
They're 3-2 right now. They just came off a bye.
Who are they playing this weekend? Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay is playing the Falcons this week.
Oh,
I believe they're 2.5-point favorites.
I think if the Saints are going to get in the playoffs, maybe it's winning the division, because that's probably their best opportunity, right? Because the other teams are. I think Tampa Bay is still questionable. They played over their heads a little bit, I think.
You think? You think Baker Mayfield is playing way above his head a little bit?
Well, he has great receivers. I think that's a key. The quarterback's got to have some receivers that can get some separation, and those guys do, right? And
we talked about that at length before on this show about a different team. But no, I completely agree. I think having a lot of talent, sort of clouds how bad you might actually be. Kirk Cousins is a mediocre quarterback, but if you have Justin Jefferson who just put up 1,800 yards in a season, that might help you, in your rankings, in your reputation a little bit, to go from to have a Stephon Diggs and then you go to Justin Jefferson. I mean, it's interesting just how great talent could shadow maybe a lot of your flaws, which is something that a couple quarterbacks potentially have, and then one quarterback does not have, who we're going to talk about a little bit later. But let's move into the Jaguars part. Let's focus on the Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence, because, yes, the Jaguars right now have won 4 straight. They improved to 5-2 now. They create that separation in the division that I was a little bit shaky about, about very early on in the year, quarter way through the year, where basically every team in the NFC South, or AFC South, I believe, was tied at one point, which is a little bit surprising based on the team, build up. The Jaguars having Trevor Lawrence and, Indy having an injured Anthony Richardson out for the year, unfortunately. Houston, rookie quarterback C.J. Stroud. Tennessee with Ryan Tannehill, who no one I think thinks is good. So now the Jaguars have created that separation, 5-2. The next highest is Indy and Houston, both at 3-3, which is a good thing for our standings predictions that we did earlier on in the year. But yeah, no, great performance from Trevor Lawrence. Had over 200 yards passing and a touchdown, no turnovers, which is the big thing. So I want to know, what was your biggest takeaway from Trevor Lawrence's performance and the Jaguars' win in general?
Just played smart. I think he played really smart. He didn't try to force passes in there. He pulled the ball down and ran when there was a good opening. He got really good yards when he ran. Eight attempts, 59 yards. That's almost 7.5 yards a carry. I mean, that was good. And he's got some nice weapons around him. ATN is a good running back. He had a nice run for a touchdown, 17 yards, 14 carries, 53 yards, 2 TDs actually. So. I think Trevor Lawrence is as billed. He was the number 1 pick, right?
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, he kind of started slow, but he didn't have much. The coaching around him wasn't very good.
That was the Urban Meyer year.
Now he's got Peterson as his coach, a former quarterback, and a former Super Bowl winning coach over Bill Belichick. I think he's in a good spot, and I think he's benefiting from having a lot of good pieces around him, and also having a good coach.
Absolutely. I will say this, though. This Jaguars defense, I think, is flying a little bit under the radar here. Currently, right now, they lead the NFL in takeaways, which is absolutely massive. They have 16 takeaways. I think they may have had a pick 6 in this game as well. So this team is taking the ball away. Trevor Lawrence and this Jaguars team seem to be on track from where they were. I mean, they've had, 3 consecutive slow starts to a season now, and then they pick it up. I believe they went, I think they were down in the dumps last year, and then they picked it up, I believe, after week 9 or week 7, where Trevor Lawrence statistically was the best quarterback from that point moving forward. But this defense, I think, is a big part of the story here. They pressured Derek Carr on nearly 40% of his dropbacks, which is pretty good for a team's whose offensive line is about middle of the road compared to the rest of the NFL. Some O-lines like the Giants and the Jets and the Patriots and all these teams who have sieves of an offensive line. You have a couple key pieces on that Saints offensive line. Trevor Lawrence, though, there's a reason why I keep putting him in my top 10 quarterbacks, and I took him out after week 4 because he wasn't playing like a top 10 quarterback. I think now we're starting to see the reason why PFF keeps putting Trevor Lawrence as one of the highest graded quarterbacks in the league right now, and that's because he could perform when it matters. You're going up against a superior defense in the Saints defense, and you're picking them to pieces. Christian Kirk, yards after the catch galore. The defense also shut down Chris Olave. I mean, he couldn't really do much in this game. Not only that, you saw what Derek Carr was basically only finding Alvin Kamara. He was involved in 31 plays. He had 14 targets and 17 carries. Chris Olave, he had 15 targets, only 7 catches. So you're doing a lot for this Saints team, disrupting the passing lanes, forcing Derek Carr to always go dink and dunk or hand the ball off for short yardage. We saw on the goal line. I think they went 1-3 on goal to go. I saw a play late in the game. Alvin Kamara, it looked like he had an open lane. Then all of a sudden when he jumps inside, it's like a brick wall, that Jaguars defense. So I think this defense is a little bit underrated for what we're seeing in the rest of the NFL because we talk about Chris Jones dominating in the defensive line. You have Nick Bosa in the 49ers, Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner. On the Bills, you have Von Miller. You don't really have massive names on the Jaguars defense, but they're getting the job done. And the big thing is, you're stopping drives by taking the ball away. 16 turnovers on defense, and we're only through 7 weeks in the NFL season.
That's amazing.
It's incredible. So if you're able to stop drives by forcing the other team to turn the ball over, that basically you're not allowing them to score a single point on that drive, that's massive. And then you have Trevor Lawrence on the other side scoring when it matters. It's huge to have that type of production on both sides. Doug Peterson, Hall of Fame, I'm not going to say Hall of Fame coach, but he outcoached Belichick in a Super Bowl. He led Nick Foles 41, 42 points in that Super Bowl. I mean, to have that coaching, to have the type of player Trevor Lawrence is, Travis Etienne in the backfield, Calvin Ridley, by the way, he had basically no production in this game. But you have other receivers like Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram. The Giants fans hated Evan Ingram for his drops. He got a massive contract this offseason with the Jaguars. So I think we're going to see a very interesting Jaguars team. Now, personally, you could disagree with me if you want. I don't think they're at that level yet to compete with a Justin Herbert or with the Chiefs or at the moment with the Bengals. I think the Bengals right now, I think they're not quite at that level yet. I think they could be. I believe they could be.
I think they're as good. I think they're as good or better than the Chargers.
Oh, I'm not going to agree with you on that. Their defense may be better.
The Chargers' record is what, 2-3?
The Chargers' record currently is 2-3. Yes.
Yeah. The Jaguars are 5-2. They beat Buffalo, right?
Well, that's the jet lag game.
Yeah. Well,
they stayed in London for that entire week. Yeah. The Bills left late in that week, so I'm not sure if we can, say that they're better than Buffalo yet because Buffalo did go up against Miami and completely shut them down.
I think they're a good team. I think they'll be
I'm
a
not
playoff
saying they're bad.
team.
No, I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not saying
they'll be a playoff team,
but...
and if they wind up playing the Chargers, I think they beat them.
Remember the last time they played in the playoffs, up by 27-0 at half, come back and win that game. So you may have a point there, but personally for me,
they played the Chiefs tough.
I'm saying right now
they played the Chiefs tough in the playoffs too. That was a pretty close game.
2 opportunities late in that game to beat Mahomes, and they did. But no, Trevor Lawrence, another year under that system. Calvin Ridley now on that team. You may actually have a shot at that. So we'll have to wait and see just how well the Jaguars play throughout the rest of the year. But I believe they are on the right track. They go up against Miami, Buffalo, Chiefs. I'm not sure they're at that moment yet, especially in the playoffs where you're one and done. But I think they can get there.
What's their record look like the rest of the way?
Their schedule?
Yeah.
Next week they're at Steelers. That should be a win. And then you have your bye week, home against the 49ers and Titans, at Texans, and then you go home against the Bengals, at Browns, home against the Ravens, at Bucks, home against the Panthers, at Titans. You end the year, the last 2 games are easy.
I'd say their schedule is not that tough. It's 49ers are the one where we'll see whether they're really what they're really made of.
I say it's the 49ers. I think the Bengals, Joe Burrow's on that track again. The Browns I believe they're ranked the number 1 defense. Then you have the Ravens and Bucks. The Bucks could be an interesting team there. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that they lose to the Bucks, but it could be a very, very interesting game. But we'll have to wait and see. All right, coming up, Julian Edelman gives a hint of what the Patriots should do with Mac Jones. Also, we make our Week 7 picks, and I'm looking for a comeback after going 1-4 last week in my Harvey Hot Hand. We'll discuss all that right after this.
Whether you're just discovering your voice or taking your show to the next level, you know what the world needs to hear. All you have to do is say it. With Spotify, set up your podcast. Your food podcast. Your mindfulness podcast. Your never thought you'd get this far podcast. And watch those sparks fly.
I put a picture of the comment.
Drop the episode anywhere people listen. And find out who they're cooking with. Where they're finding inner balance. And why they love your show. You're already a creator. Now you can create, connect, and get paid for your passion with one single free tool. Spotify for podcasters. Talk where the world listens.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name's Nathan Harvey. Good to have you in on a Friday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our next topic. Of course, we have to talk about the New England Patriots. I find this very, very fascinating because former Patriot wide receiver Julian Edelman still believes in Mac Jones and think the Patriots should stick by him. This is what the former Patriots wide receiver had to say on Von Miller's podcast.
I would stick it out. They're not going to pay Kurt next year. You know, they're not renting. You'd rent Kirk Cousins if you had a shot, unless you want to pay him for the next few years. I think you gotta stick with Mac, and maybe this is where you see his mental toughness and you know, when things are not at its best, a lot of, you know, characteristics come out of people, and that's kind of when you want to evaluate them, because that's when you know you got a dog or not.
Now, historically on this show, you've been critical of Mac Jones, especially last season. Now, you seem to come around a little bit. You've now identified more of the problems surrounding the Patriots. So I want to know. I think this one, the final. This may be one of the last times we ask this, question, because things could drastically change in these next couple weeks, going up against the Bills and the Dolphins. Do you agree or disagree with the fact that Julian Edelman says the Patriots need to stick by him and even next year have him as the starting quarterback?
I tend to agree with him, actually, because I think that Mac Jones has had some good games. His first season, he had the best offensive coordinator, and they had designed an offense around him that was really quite good. They had a much better offensive line then. They had, I just think the offense was a credible offense, and now it isn't. There's nobody. They got nobody on offense. The offensive line is horrible. The wide receivers, they have the worst separation of any receivers in the league. If he had some really good wide receivers and a little bit better offensive line, I think he would be much better. And I think it's gotten to him a little bit, which is a little bit of a question mark on his, the best, as Edelman says, when things are tough, certain characteristics come out. He's a little jumpy in the pocket, He seems a little gun-shy there. I've never been back there and taken a hit from a 300-pound lineman, so I'm sure that it's not pleasant, and I can understand why he might get a little jumpy. But the other thing that is a little bit of a character issue was when he dissed the coaches, in the games out on the field last year. I thought that was bad. Maybe he's grown up from that and learned from it. You haven't heard anything about that this year, even though I think the play calling and is just as bad as it was last year. So, we'll see how he does the next few games. I think it's still the jury is still out in my mind.
I was surprised that Julian Edelman still said that, because this year he's been critical of Mac Jones and the turnover issues. And even this past game, he had a pretty bad interception. I mean, Hunter Henry was open. As an NFL quarterback, I think if you're an above-average quarterback like Mac Jones was his rookie year, you need to make that type of throw. However, they didn't score a touchdown off it. They only got a field goal. You had an opportunity to win the game. Devontae Parker decided to drop the most beautiful pass we may have seen in Mac Jones' entire career. Beautiful ball. He stepped into the throw, which he hasn't done basically all season. He's run away like a scared kid. But this time he stepped into the throw, stepped up in the pocket, which that has caused problems. We saw in the Saints game. Stepped up in the pocket and led to a pick six. That has not been Mac Jones' MO the entire season, to be able to step up in the pocket and make crucial throws. But in this game, in that Raiders game, that's exactly what he did. Delivered a beautiful ball that Devontae Parker could not wheel in. I'll say this. I am very, very close to fully giving up on Mac Jones. And I, on this show, I've been one of Mac Jones's, avid supporters. And I've defended him on social media, defended him on the Patriots post-conference YouTube comments. I've been defending Mac Jones because the Patriots have so many more problems than just the quarterback position. Their running game, while it improved against the Raiders so far this year, has been absolutely abysmal, nowhere near what it was the previous seasons. The wide receivers, like you mentioned, they're one of the worst, if not the worst in separation. Devontae Parker, now we're going up to maybe even 4 straight years of being the worst wide receiver in separation, and yet you gave him a 3-year extension. You go off Jacoby Myers for unknown reasons, and then you bring in a broken-down Juju Smith-Schuster, who reportedly before the season, there were concerns that his knee could blow out in any given second. Well, it looks like he's not even really trying that hard to get open on routes. Could it be the knee? Could it be his motivation? Could it be the fact that he doesn't have that high motor that maybe the Patriots are looking for, that Belichick thought he still had?
This is huge
maybe.
disappointment.
It's been a massive
Huge
disappointment. So there's so many other concerns rather than just Mac Jones. And I think this is what the Giants maybe need to think about. Yes, if you do get the number 1 pick, you did give Daniel Jones a 4-year contract, $82 million fully guaranteed. Do you get off him if you have the opportunity to go get Caleb Williams? Or just like we talked about in the previous topic, do you use that pick to trade back or gain valuable surrounding assets to help out Daniel Jones? Get a top-tier offensive lineman. If you have the opportunity, go get Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver. Get some talent. So, just like we saw with Baker Mayfield, you surround him with pieces to make the quarterback less likely to be the reason why you lose games. It's the same thing with Brock Purdy. We saw Debo and CMC go down. He didn't look like the same quarterback. He looked nervous. Wasn't very accurate with the football. He was under 50%, threw a bad interception. You could hide a lot of bad if you surround him with very, very good. Jimmy G got to a Super Bowl, got to another NFC Championship game, could have made another Super Bowl. The defensive back could hold on to the football and an easy interception against the Rams. He made Super Bowl, was up by 10 heading into the fourth quarter against the Chiefs in that Super Bowl. You could hide a lot of bad if you surround him with very good. That's something the Patriots need to think about. Is Mac Jones really the biggest problem on the Patriots? Or is it the fact you have the 29th best pass blocking offensive line? Your wide receivers can't separate for the life of them. You gave up the best wide receiver separation on your team, and Mac Jones, he had a terrible year last year. Really, let's be honest, Jacoby Myers was the one shining grace that Mac Jones looked for on those crucial third downs, who actually cared. And we saw against the Raiders. He was separating against these Patriots defenders. He scored a beautiful touchdown. He was getting open. You got to go out and get some talent here. We saw Mac Jones' rookie year. I keep going back to this, but we saw what the guy looked like with protection, with some separation, and with a defense that was complimentary on the other side. You lost Matt Judon, by the way. At this point, we're going to talk about it when we talk about our picks. I'm sure I'll bring it up, especially for my Harvey hot hand. At this point in the season, so going into week 7 last season, Matt Judon was tied for number 1 in sacks. He's gone for basically the rest of the year. Christian Gonzalez shutting down wide receiver ones. He's out for the year. They don't have pieces on the defense anymore to complement what could be a good offense. We saw them. They couldn't stop the Raiders' run game. Josh Jacobs ran 25 times. 6 red zone trips for the Raiders. They don't have time. They don't have the defense to stop. If you get pressure on Jimmy G, we saw it in the Steelers game. I think he threw 3 interceptions. He's prone to make mistakes. So I think really, It's not. Has Mac Jones been bad? Let's be honest. Has Mac Jones been bad this season?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's
Turn
gonna
the
say,
ball over too much.
He has turned because he's trying to do too much.
Interceptions.
He's trying to be something that maybe
No, he's been under pressure a lot.
he has been under pressure a lot. But I'm saying, as Mac Jones is currently right now, is he a guy that could throw cross his body 35 yards, maybe like a Mahomes, Herbert, Allen can? No, he can't. Does he try to do it? We saw against the Cowboys. He tried it twice. He got very lucky on one of them. The other one got housed.
Yeah.
He's trying to do too much because the offense isn't anywhere where it should be. He's trying to be that next rung on a ladder to go reach for that next step to push the offense that much further, and he's not that guy.
Well,
And
he doesn't have
he will
anything
be.
to work with.
Exactly.
There's nobody
trying to be
there.
that
They
guy.
got nothing.
He's trying to be the difference maker when maybe currently with coaching, with players, he can't be that next guy.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, rookie year, he was better than half the quarterbacks in the league. So
That's
he
why
can be that guy.
I think he can be, and I think they need to give him some more chances, and they will.
You better hope so. I mean, I'll give Belichick this, and I think it's very telling. He let Bailey Zappi hit waivers. No one got him. He put him as the backup quarterback. Actually, bench Mac Jones for 2 halves, I guess. Bailey Zappi didn't look good. He went it was 4 of 9 against the Cowboys, 3 of 9 against the Saints. Missed 2 really open receivers, and 1, if he had the arm strength, could go deep for a touchdown. So, and then think about this. Brought up Malik Cunningham as the quarterback 2. Bailey Zappi got relegated to emergency quarterback 3, and that's only allowed if both your quarterbacks are unable to play. So people screaming, Bailey Zappi is not the answer.
I agree with that.
Belichick, he benched Drew Bledsoe, who just got a massive contract and who was the first overall pick for Tom Brady.
Smart move.
You don't think Belichick would know who's a better quarterback? You don't think if he really thought Mac Jones was being a detriment to this team, or the other side, Bailey Zappi was really that guy, he wouldn't bench Mac Jones just because he's the 15th overall pick and a young quarterback? I mean, think about it. He was ready to move off Tom Brady, who's won his Super Bowls, for Jimmy G. And then got Jarrett Stidham and seemed to really cozy up to Jarrett Stidham before letting him go. Bailey Zappi, I'm going to keep fighting this until people realize he's not the answer. He's not the answer
I
whatsoever.
tend to agree after seeing him in person and seeing him throw those balls just totally inaccurate.
Yeah, I mean
when
we
the guys
learned
were
from the
open,
crowd.
there was separation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he couldn't hit those guys, so that was bad.
I mean, we were at the Saints game, screaming for Zappi, booing every single time they came off the field. Zappi comes in,
Terrible.
looks terrible, looks very, very bad. Yeah. He actually made a good play, but I think it was a check down to Ramondre, where he actually sensed the pressure to his left, rolled out to the right. I think made a check down to Ramondre Stevenson. So he's not all that. I'm sorry, he's not all that. He's definitely not better than Mac Jones. Otherwise, he would be out there. Belichick can identify that.
He's definitely not better than Mac Jones. I agree with that.
They released Bailey Zappi. Said, any team, take him.
Yeah.
Mac Jones is our
nobody
guy.
wanted him. Yeah.
Cleared him, signed him back. Now he's emergency quarterback 3. Malik Cunningham beat him. Could we see Malik Cunningham if Mac Jones gets slaughtered?
I think we could see him on Sunday.
But
if the Patriots play the Bills like they normally do, then there's a good chance you're going to see Malik Cunningham because the Bills have been trouncing the Patriots when they play them.
I have a funny stat when I do. Spoiler alert: the Patriots are on my Harvey hot hand for today. But I have a little statistic here about Josh Allen against the Patriots. It ain't pretty. It ain't pretty. The defense. It can't stop Josh Allen. But let's get into our weekly topic here where we make our picks for Week 7. And as always, I will begin with my Week 7 picks. So last night, I continue a pretty good streak of mine. I believe I only have 1 loss on the season in Thursday Night Football, and that was, I believe, the Commanders Bears game where Josh Allen, Justin Fields absolutely exploded all over that Commanders defense, and the offense couldn't get going, and the Bears defense stepped up for the first time all year. So that was the only loss I had on Thursday Night Football. However, back on track. Jaguars take the win. They were surprising underdogs against the Saints, who I talked about it earlier in the show, have barely put up 20 points. They haven't scored 20 points in 5 of their first 7 games, and yet they were underdogs against the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence, who just beat the Bills. I have no idea how that could be. However, let's keep going with let's go with Sunday's games. So the first game, Lions and Ravens. the Lions are underdogs here, being 5-1, being one of the best teams in the NFL and one of the best teams in the NFC. They beat the Chiefs, and so far they've been dominant. The best offensive line by PFF. Jared Goff is being safe with the football. The Ravens, I don't know exactly what's going on with the Ravens. Injuries here, injuries there. Lamar Jackson not putting up a lot of yards per game, however, being efficient as he could be with the team he has. But I'll take the better team. You could say arguably the better quarterback, depending on how you look at it. So I'm going to go with the Lions to win outright and obviously cover the +3 spread. The next one, Falcons at Bucks. I say Baker Mayfield and this Tampa Bay Bucks team get back on track after a loss 2 weeks ago after being on a bye. The Falcons, they look very, very, very bad against Sam Howell and that Commanders. I mean, Desmond Ridder is not the guy. I think going up against a Buccaneers defense, Baker Mayfield gets back on track. The Falcons defense isn't really all that. I'll take the Bucks to win and cover the -2.5 point spread. The next one, speaking about the Commanders at Giants. Tyrod Taylor seems to be back in there. Daniel Jones is questionable for this game. Andrew Thomas is out for this game. I'll take the Commanders. They just beat up on the Falcons. They slowed down Bijan Robinson the best they could do. Saquon Barkley. Now, I understand the Giants kept it very, very close with the Bills, but I think the Bills played down to their competition, so I'm actually going to pick the Commanders to go up and beat the Giants here. Chase Young on that defensive front. You got Sweat. You got a bunch of great front seven pieces. A couple years ago, this was the second-rated defense in the NFL, and I think they can get sort of on that track. I'm not saying they go back to number 2, but I think this defense disrupts the Giants, and if Daniel Jones plays, I'll feel much better about picking the Commanders to win on the road here. But as it is, Tyrod Taylor looks like he's going to play. Daniel Jones is questionable. I'll take the Commanders to win on the road and cover the -3 point spread. The next one, this may be the most boring game in the NFL. You have two backup quarterbacks. Brian Hoyer, the veteran, up against a backup quarterback in the Bears. I don't even remember his name. He played last week. He had a bad turnover late in the game. But I'll take the Raiders here. I just think chemistry, you have Devontae Adams, you got Josh Jacobs, you got Jacoby Myers, you got pieces, more pieces than what the Bears do. Yes, they have DJ Moore. I believe Khalil Herbert is healthy for this week, but I'll just take the better defense. I'll take the better weapons, maybe not the better quarterback, but at least the more experienced quarterback in Brian Hoyer. I'll take the Raiders to win on the road, cover the -2.5 point spread. Let's go to the next one. I'm sorry, but I have to be honest here. There is basically no shot the Patriots go up and beat the Buffalo Bills, especially with Christian Gonzalez out. If Christian Gonzalez was in this game, I may feel inclined to pick Patriots +8.5 because so far this season, Christian Gonzalez was breaking down wide receiver ones like they were wide receiver 3, shutting them down completely, and that's a rookie cornerback doing that. But he's out. No Matt Judon. Josh Uche is also out. Keon White, which should have been the replacement for Matt Judon, he's also out. This defense so far has not been able to slow down or even stop Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. I'll take the Bills to win and cover the massive point spread, -8.5. I'll take the Bills to win and cover. The next one, Browns at Colts. This one's interesting. Deshaun Watson questionable for this game after dealing with that rotator cuff injury. We have Anthony Richardson, unfortunately, out for the entire year after being that explosive quarterback that a lot of people love to watch, including myself. But I'll take the Browns to win and cover the -3.5 point spread here. The best defense in the NFL. They just beat up on Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers. They keep that going, and I'll take the Browns to win and cover the -3.5 point spread. The next one, Steelers at Rams. I'll take the Rams to win here and cover. You got Puka Nacua, you got Cooper Kupp. The running back situation for the Rams is interesting to look at, though. They have injuries at the running back position. Williams has been a great addition for the Rams here, but I do think the Rams will win here. I just think too much firepower on the offense with the two wide receivers. I think Matthew Stafford gets it done, and especially I think that defense could maybe disrupt what the Steelers can't really do on offense, and that's put up points and score. Aaron Donald, I think, could break through a questionable offensive line that the Steelers have, disrupt Kenny Pickett. I think Kenny Pickett, so far this season, he went back to Kenny Pick-em-off after having a great season, at least at the end of the year, where he barely had any interceptions. He is sort of back to that Kenny Pick-em-off repertoire that I gave him, so I'll take the Rams to win and cover the -3 point spread. The next one, Cardinals at Seahawks. A lot of people were thinking, could Kyler Murray come back for this game? Kyler Murray's questionable. Nope, Kyler Murray's out for this game, unfortunately. So I'll take the Seahawks to win and cover. Now, the Cardinals this season have been a very, very interesting team. We thought they were in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. Now, based on the record, they still have a potential shot if the Panthers, actually start to win games, which right now is not looking too well. But I will take the Seahawks to win. I think the Cardinals are interesting, but I just think with this team, the defense beat up on Daniel Jones and that poor offensive line. You got JSN, you got Tyler Lockett, you got DK Metcalf, you got K9 in the backfield, Geno Smith being as effective as he is, Bobby Wagner, one of the highest graded linebackers in the league. I'll take the Seahawks to win and cover the -7.5 point spread. An interesting game. This is like a double yearly thing, a bi-yearly thing. The Chargers against the Chiefs. Now, the Chargers are very, very interesting because they're one of the only teams that could disrupt the Chiefs and keep these games close, and that is why, actually, I'm picking the Chiefs to still win, but the Chargers to cover a +5.5 point spread just because every single game that these quarterbacks and these teams play up against one another, it's always been close. I always hark back to this. Justin Herbert's first career game, he was told like 30 minutes before because Tyrod Taylor had some sort of lung issue where his lung collapsed, I believe, after trying to get like an injection or whatever. Justin Herbert came into the game in the first career game going up against Patrick Mahomes and for like 3.5 quarters outplaying Mahomes and was basically on the verge of beating Mahomes in his first career game. He lost that game and it's sort of been a back and forth where he keeps the games close, but one mistake, two mistakes, he can't quite get over the hump. I'll take the Chiefs to still win. The Chargers are this close, but I may take them later on in the year at home to beat the Chiefs, but we'll have to wait and see. But for this game, Chiefs win, Chargers cover the +5.5 point spread. The next one, Packers-Broncos. The Broncos are 1-point underdogs at home against Jordan Love and the Packers. Jordan Love, horrible completion percentage, hasn't looked good all year. He's looked good in the first half of games, and then he's looked bad in the first half of games, and then he increased his production and his effectiveness in the second half of games. But recently, he's just been flat out bad. Turnover issues, not being great at throwing the football, very, very inaccurate. This is a game the Broncos need to win, and I do think they win it here. +1 underdogs at home. I find that very, very interesting. The Broncos win outright and obviously cover the +1 point spread. This one's another shocker. Dolphins at Eagles, and the Eagles are 2.5 point favorites. I'll take the Dolphins to win out right here. Has anyone seen the Eagles defense? I'm trying to find them here. Zach Wilson, he just tore up that Eagles team. Now I understand. I mean, let's be honest here. Jalen Hurts, he had a turnover issue the last game against the Jets. Dolphins don't have a great defense. However, the offense is not explosive as it was last season. The defense is nowhere near as effective as it was last season. Going up against a team that right now is breaking NFL records for yards per game and points per game. I'll take Tua with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Raheem Mostert in the backfield. I'll take this dynamic offense to go up and beat a lackluster, however it is first in the division, lackluster compared to last year Eagles team. I'll take the Dolphins to win outright and cover the +2.5 point spread. And to wrap it up, Sunday Night Football, we have Kirk Cousins up against Brock Purdy. The 49ers trying to rebound after that embarrassing loss against P.J. Walker and the Cleveland Browns, and I think they do come back from that. Kirk Cousins in prime time. Can those words be any scarier for Kirk Cousins? Prime time game? Well, I don't think there are many quarterbacks besides maybe Daniel Jones who are worse in prime time. I'll take the 49ers in that defense to absolutely beat the crap out of Kirk Cousins here. I'll take them to win and cover the -6.5 point spread. Those are my Week 7 picks. After your picks, we'll go back to the Harvey Hot Hand. But let's jump into your picks for Week 7.
Okay. So I thought you had some good logic and good analysis on your picks. We agree on quite a few here. My record now, 54-39, not too bad. Better than last year at this time.
You did better than me this week, by the way.
And my point spread, much better than last year, 51-38-4. So I'm doing a little better this year. Still would like to do quite a bit better. This week, I think you say, the games are easier for you to pick.
Well, my Harvey Hot Hand is much better.
Okay. Well, to me, these games, some of them are much harder to pick, I think. Last night's game I thought was hard to pick. I managed to get it right, and we talked at length about that game, so I won't say anything more about that, aside from the fact I'm happy I won. The Lions at the Ravens, I think this one's going to be very close, and I toiled over this one. I couldn't make a decision. I think the Ravens are a good team. I think they've had some ups and downs a little bit, but they are first in the division, and they are playing at home. And the Lions, while they are 5-1, I'm still not that confident in them. I really am not. And the defense is a lot better than it was last year, and their offense is very good. And I like Jared Goff a lot. I am going to pick them, but I think this is a measurement game for them. that they could easily lose. And if they win this game, then I think they're even more for real, and I'll feel much more confident about picking them in future weeks. But I think this game will be very close. And next game, Tampa Bay against the Falcons. I watched some of that Falcons game last week, and I agree. Ritter is not the answer, but the coaching isn't either. The coaching was miserable in that game. They made so many mistakes. They were down there in the red zone three different times, and they just didn't know what they were doing. I couldn't get over it, and I feel bad for Ritter on that, but he did throw it away at the end. They could have won the game last week, and I think the Tampa Bay, I'm surprised they're as good as they are. Their defense is very good. They have elite wide receivers. I don't know, is Evans playing this week? He was hurt. He was out. He'd been out. But they also have Godwin. So, even if they don't have Evans, they have Godwin.
He's not on the injury report for this week.
Okay, so both of those guys in there, Baker Mayfield taking advantage of those guys getting separation. They're wide open down the field. Even Baker can hit them. So I'm picking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to beat the Atlanta Falcons and cover the point spread. Washington against New York. New York has terrible time against Washington. They never generally don't. The games are either close or, the Giants generally lose against Washington. I don't think they've only beaten Washington once in like the last 7 or 8 times. I don't think they will win on Sunday. And I don't know. Tyrod Taylor looked pretty good in the game against the Bills, and he did make some mistakes. I mean, some of his calls there when they were down on the goal line, they could have won that game. They were on the 1-yard line with the last play of the game, and they could not get it in. And so I don't think it doesn't matter to me either Tyrod Taylor or Daniel Jones play in this game. I think that Washington's going to win, and I think Sam Howell is an up-and-coming quarterback. He's shown as a guy who can take punishment. He's been sacked one of the most, I think, in the league,
most
right?
of the league, yeah.
And he's definitely has good passing stats, right? And he has some good receivers. So I think Washington's going to win this game. Raiders at the Bears. I think the Bears, so it's unlucky for them that Justin Fields is hurt. That backup quarterback was terrible last week. I do think Brian Hoyer, he's one of the reasons the Raiders beat the Patriots, I think. He came in and he hit a couple of really nice passes.
6 of 9 for over 100 yards.
Over 100 yards. They couldn't. I thought, when it first came in, I said, the Patriots are probably going to win now. But Brian Hoyer, he played very well, and he has a career. Over his career, when he was the starting quarterback of the Browns, he had some very good games. So he's not a bad quarterback. So I think the Raiders will win this game, and I just think the Bears, they're going to be getting another really good draft pick this year, I think. So they aren't going to win many games. They've won, one game now?
Who?
The Bears. They have one win? They have one win.
I think they have one, yeah.
Yeah, here we go with the Bills and the Patriots. For the first time this year, I'm picking I'm picking against the Patriots. I just don't think they're going to beat the Bills, and I think that if it's another blowout, then we'll see Malik Cunningham, and we'll see whether he can do something, and that could be interesting. But maybe picking against the Patriots for the first time, maybe they'll win. Maybe I don't know, but maybe I'll try that. Pick against them for a few weeks and see if they win. Yeah. But these next 2 weeks, this is it for them. If they lose this one, 1-6, and they lose next week to the Dolphins, who they never beat in Miami, right? Then they're done. 1-7. You're not coming back from that. So we'll see what happens. We talked at length about their team and Mac Jones, and I just don't think they have anything on offense. I think he's their best. Mac Jones is their best player on offense. He's got nothing around him. I think the running backs are probably okay, but you can't run it again. When you run into a brick wall every time, you're not going to get any yards. So I don't put that on the running backs. It's all on the offensive line, and they don't give Mac Jones any time to throw. So it's going to be a long day, I think, for the Patriots, particularly with the Bills' defense with Von Miller back in there.
I have your answer for the last time the Dolphins lost at home against the Patriots.
How
was
many years ago was
September 15th of 2019.
Yeah, that's a while ago, long time ago. Okay, now we have the Browns against the Colts. I think the Browns win. I don't know what the hell's wrong with Deshaun Watson. He's been cleared to play the last 2 weeks,
Rotator
and he
cuff.
doesn't play. But if they clear him to play, they must say that the rotator cuff is not enough to keep him out of the game. So is he just soft? I don't know.
Maybe. Who knows?
I mean, what's he care? He's getting $230 million guaranteed no matter what he does. So maybe he's happy to sit on the bench. I don't know. But the other quarterback played well enough to beat the 49ers last week.
P.J.
So
Walker, yeah.
maybe Deshaun Watson's job is in jeopardy. We'll see.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. So I do think they'll beat the Colts. It's too bad Richardson's out for the season. I mean, there've been some bad injuries this year, right? Some really up-and-coming players and rookies that we'd like to watch getting hurt and knocked out of for the season. The Patriots lost Gonzalez for the season. So it's a shame. It's a really rough game, and it's too bad some of these injuries happen. The Steelers against the Rams. I'm picking the Steelers. I think with the T.J. Watt,
He's the difference maker in this one.
He's a difference maker in some games, and I think the Steelers' offense, while not been so good, actually been pretty bad early in the season, is improving a little bit. And I just think their defense is good enough to get a win over the Rams, who have a really good wide receiver core now, right? With what's his name?
George Pickens?
No, I'm talking about the Rams.
Puka Nacua.
Puka Nacua.
Yeah, what
right?
a name.
And the other guy, who's their other guy?
Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp, yeah.
How can you forget Cooper
So
Kupp?
they got both those guys going. And Matthew Stafford's a decent quarterback, so they could. They're favored to win, and I'm picking the underdog here. We'll see what happens. The Saints. The Seahawks against the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals they've proven to be better than we thought they would be, and we'll see if they get Kyler Murray back. Right, he may come back not this week, but next week.
There's a chance. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So I didn't think they thought he'd be back till like week 11.
We thought because ACL injury is about a year off. He tore it
Yeah.
in December.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Well, he must want to get back in there badly if they think he might come back. I think that this will be a close game, and I think that the Cardinals will cover the spread. I do think the Seahawks are going to win. They're looking much better. They would be a playoff game if the season, playoff team if the season ended today. And Geno Smith's playing well. They have some good weapons, particularly the wide receivers are very good. So I think they will win, but I think it'll be close. The Chiefs, I'm picking. I just think they're one of the best teams in the league, even though their offense has kind of sputtered a little bit. The one weakness they have is just like the Patriots. They don't have any wide receivers. The wide receivers are weak, and they don't play that well. And maybe one of them is going to step up here one of these games and have a decent game. But they're a long way away from when they had Tyreek Hill, that's for sure. They're lucky to have Travis Kelce because he's been their go-to guy, and Mahomes finds him often. And I think he will on Sunday, and I think they will beat the Chargers. The next game is Green Bay against the Broncos. I'm picking Green Bay. I just think the Broncos are so bad that, and their defense is so poor that even Love will have a good game against the Broncos, and they'll find a way to win. And if they do, then that will make the Broncos 1-6, right?
They only won one game.
one game. So Sean Payton, he's probably thinking, why didn't I just stay in the studio, right? Would have been a lot easier and a lot less criticism. Sunday night, the Dolphins against the Eagles. I'm picking the Eagles. Eagles at home. Eagles only lost one game. They lost last week, and I think they want revenge. The Dolphins, I'm not so sure about them. They got beat by the Bills, and so I think the Eagles can beat them. I think you made some good points about the Eagles' defense not being as good as it was last year. I do think Jalen Hurts is going to bounce back. He didn't play that well against the Jets, who I think have their defense is ranked in the top 5, right? I would say they're right up there. Their defense is great.
The Jets' total defense is 21st.
Total defense is 21st?
Yep.
How could that be? I don't get that. I have to look at some of the stats
Yards
that they rank
given
defense.
Up. Yeah, they're 26th in total rushing defense, 15th in passing.
Wow, they played great last weekend against a very good offense. So
I agree.
Yeah. So we'll see. I think it'll be a fun game to watch.
They're second in interceptions, which is big.
San Francisco will definitely bounce back and beat the Vikings. I think they were underprepared and underappreciated the Browns, whose defense really slowed down and banged up the 49ers. And Brock Purdy didn't have that great a game, only 125 yards, but he lost Deebo Samuels. He lost CMC for part of that game. So I think it's a bounce-back game for them, and they will win. And those are my picks, Nate.
Well, I'm hoping I'm more right than you are. However, you have been beating me, so...
What's your record now?
I'm a little bit jealous. My record, we have the same win-loss record, but you're one game better than me.
You're better than me, 59-34.
So are you? 59-34?
It's 54 and 39.
You're better than me in the spread, though.
Yeah. What's your spread?
You're one better than me. You're 51-38-4. I'm 50-39-4. So you're a little bit better than me.
I'm hoping I catch you this week. But I'm taking some risks on some of these games. Definitely the Green Bay game is a risk, and the Steelers game. That Steelers game is a risk, picking those teams.
I don't know.
See.
Maybe it's not a bigger risk as you think. Who
don't know.
knows? The Rams could be
It's very
terrible
hard for me to
line.
pick those.
Yeah,
I had a very hard time picking those.
Well, the reason why I said that this week is going to be an easy week is because I feel extremely confident in my Harvey hot hand, which is what I'm going to talk about right now. If for those who don't know, if you're a newcomer to this show and a newcomer to the Harvey hot hand, basically my Harvey hot hand is where I pick the 5 teams that if you're sports betting, you should bet on to win some money. Now, last week was a bit of a rough week. I went 1-4, and I'm sort of on a bad trend. I went 4-1, then 4-1, and then 3-1-1, then 2-3, and last week was 1-4. Now the question is, do I do for the first time in Harvey Hot in history go 0-5? I hope not. Or do we swing the pendulum back around into a positive win-loss percentage, or at least win more than one game in the Harvey Hot end? Hopefully we go back into the positive standings. But this week, I feel really, really good about my picks. So let's jump in with the first pick of Week 7 in the Harvey Hot End. It is
Lions at Ravens.
The Lions at Ravens. I'll take the Lions to win outright here. So let's talk about this for a second. Jared Goff has been his turnover's been non-existent. The lowest turnover-worthy percentage in the NFL compared to the Ravens, who have nearly 4 times that percentage. This offensive line currently by PFF is rated number 1 in the NFL. Better than the 49ers, better than any team you could think of. The Detroit Lions are number 1. Not only that, remember the 32nd ranked defense last year? Yeah, they flipped it on the head, and now they're top 10. Not only that, they're the 7th best defense in the NFL. The Ravens dealing with injuries as always. Lamar Jackson underwhelming in the passing game. Remember when he said he wanted to throw for 6,000 yards? You can't do that averaging 280-something yards total for the game. You can't really do that in the NFL if you want to go to 6,000 yards. I'll take this surprising Lions defense to try to slow down Lamar Jackson, and I'll take Jared Goff playing it safe, being smart with the football to beat the Ravens. I have the Lions winning outright, covering the plus 3 points, but I have them winning 28-24.
Bills at Patriots.
Bills at Patriots. Now, unfortunately, the Patriots not been my best pick for the Harvey Hot Hand. However, this game should be pretty much a given. In the injury report list, they already lost Riley Reef, an offensive lineman. Not only that, 4 out of their 5 starting offensive linemen were a limited participant in practice. And the only one that isn't on the injury report is the 3rd worst offensive tackle in the NFL and the 2nd worst pass blocking offensive tackle in the NFL, and veteran Lowe. The offensive line has been terrible. The offense in general has been absolutely abysmal. So Josh Allen in his last 7 games against the Patriots, 6-1 record, nearly 14-point differential. He has nearly 283 yards per game, 19 total touchdowns to only 2 interceptions, 113 passer rating. The Patriots have not been able to stop Josh Allen and the dynamic offense of the Buffalo Bills. I'll take the Bills to win big here, cover the -8.5 point spread. I have them winning 34-17.
Chargers at Chiefs.
Now, the Chargers screwed me over on Monday Night Football this past week against the Cowboys, but I had them bouncing back. So Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes have always gone head-to-head, and all their games basically have been very, very close. There were a couple outliers here where the Chiefs blew out the Chargers, and I believe the Chargers one time blew out the Chiefs. I think that was with Chad Haney instead of Mahomes at quarterback. But in this game, I have another phenomenal game between Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes. I'll have the Chargers covering a +5.5 point spread, but still end up losing because I think Justin Herbert has always been this close to beating Mahomes and surpassing him in head-to-head matchups. I think Mahomes is the better quarterback overall, but I think as a team-wise, Justin Herbert has always kept the Chargers this close, and I do not think this season, in this game, he could overcome the Chiefs at the current moment. Although, there could be people who do pick the Chargers to win outright because the offense of the Chiefs has not been anywhere close as it was the past couple seasons where they're this dynamic offense. The story of the Chiefs has been their defense. The offensive line of the Chargers has been surprisingly pretty good compared to last year. The defense, as usual, has been terrible. I think Justin Herbert keeps them in this game. There is no defense for either one of these teams. I have the Chiefs winning 35-31, but the Chargers do cover that +5.5 point spread. The next one.
Packers at Broncos.
This one's interesting. I didn't think the Broncos would be 1-point underdogs at home. Jordan Love so far this season, first half has been terrible, second half has been okay. Recently, he's had turnover issues, which makes any half he plays in or any quarter he plays in pretty bad. I'll take the Broncos to win here. Now, I'm not saying this is must win because I think it is very, very difficult being 1-5 and still having a shot. However, you play in the AFC West with the Raiders surprisingly being 3-3 and the Chargers being 2-3. I think something is weird in the AFC West, but I do think the Broncos do pull out the win here. The running game, I think, is going to be interesting to watch. The defense of the Broncos has still been pretty bad. However, it was okay. I think Russell Wilson against a okay Packers defense, I think he tears it up in this week. I have the Broncos winning a close one, 27-24, and upsetting the Green Bay Packers at home. And the final one of this week,
Dolphins at Eagles.
this one, another shocker. The Eagles just lost to Zach Wilson and are 2.5 point favorites against the Dolphins, who right now are breaking records for yards per game and points per game. I will take strictly the dynamic offense and the dominant offense of the Miami Dolphins with Tyreek Hill, with Jalen Waddle, with Raheem Mostert, with Tua Tagovailoa. I'll take the offense of the Dolphins to overpower anything the Eagles have coming their way. I know the defense of the Dolphins isn't that great. I know Jalen Hurts at home has had a great record, especially recently. I just think the way the Dolphins offensively have been playing all season, I think this is a new system. I think this is a dominant system. Mike McDaniel, one of the best offensive coaches in the league, and last year, he outplayed Lamar Jackson. Threw 6 touchdowns, outplayed him in that fourth quarter, had a tremendous comeback. Mike McDaniel is doing something very, very interesting and makes Tua look like a great quarterback. I have the Dolphins upsetting the Eagles 30-28, and that wraps up my Harvey Hot Hand for Week 7. I feel good about those picks. I feel really good about those picks. The one I'm a little bit nervous for, like we talked about, Lions-Ravens. I think that's going to be a great game.
Yeah, I do too.
I think that may showcase on Tuesday that game. Depending on how it is, we could have some pretty good storylines for this week. Patriots-Bills should be not an interesting one.
I don't know.
Josh Allen, 6-1, 14-point differential per game against the Patriots.
Terrible.
19 total touchdowns to only 2 interceptions.
Terrible.
It's bad.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad. But
you never know. Maybe this will be the game the Patriots break out and they find themselves and they upset the Bills and they go on a winning streak, but I'm not confident at all.
I will say this. Remember the Dolphins last year? That's the last strand of hope I'm holding on to. Dolphins were, I believe, 1-6, and we're this close to making the playoffs. This close.
Yeah.
I think if the Seahawks lost and the Dolphins,
I just don't see the Patriots
winning,
beating the Dolphins next week at home, down in Miami. They just don't win down there.
Could be the 4th straight year. It could be the 3rd straight year now.
Again, I mean, if they get to 1-7, forget it. I mean, if they get to 1-7,
they're done.
They're done. Yeah.
Well, the question then you get into the conversation of you're in position to draft a quarterback. Do you draft a quarterback?
Yeah.
And I really don't think Mac Jones is the biggest issue on that team. The offensive line doesn't help. Think about it. Mac Jones, we saw in the Raiders game, stepping in, he looked like a new quarterback.
Yeah.
He wasn't
He
nervous.
threw that pass to Parker. They could have got him into close to field goal range. They could have won the game last week.
Yeah.
And Parker's hands of stone dropped it.
And then on that safety, Gesicki tried to block Max Crosby, and Crosby just threw him out of the way. Like, get the hell out of here. And then he got the safety sack. Screwed us both over in that point spread, by the way.
I know. Oh, well.
It's pretty bad. But that does wrap up today's episode.
Oh, one other thing, Nate.
Yeah, what's up?
Happy birthday.
Well, it's not my birthday yet, but thank you. I appreciate
your birthday's
that.
coming up, and
It is.
I want to congratulate you on the show. You produce it. You pick the topics. You have all of the graphics and everything. You put a lot of work into this, and I think you're doing a great job.
Well, I appreciate that.
I'm honored to be on the show with you.
Well, thank you for showing up, I would say 98% of the time for these shows. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you for being such a great co-host for the show. But for this episode of the Harvey Hour, thank you all for tuning in. My name's Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. Have a great weekend. We will see you on Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right here at the desk, at the table, me and my dad, for another episode of the Harvey
Hi,
Hour.
Grandpa.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a